Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin' Robbie Billups, and it's time for the weekly comic book review. That's right everybody, thanks for checking out the video. I am Rockin' Robbie Billups. This is the weekly comic book review. It's the show where I read a lot of comic books, and I'll let you know what I thought about them, and we always start with the pick of the week, and this week's pick of the week, Where Monsters Lie, issue number 1 from Dark Horse Comics. Now, this is written by Kyle Starks with artwork by Peter Kowalski, Vladimir Popov on the coloring, and Joshua Reed on the lettering. I really liked this book. Now, we know Kowalski's work from Join the Future with Zach Kaplan over at Aftershock, I believe. We also know him as the artist who took over from Andrea Muti on Dark Interlude. So I really am a fan of his artwork. It is complex. There's a lot going on, but it still has room to breathe. So I think artistically, it's a solid book, but the premise and the story and the execution of that script is what really sells me on this book. And what it is, this is a very small community. It's like this cul-de-sac out there or whatever, right? Where serial killers live, right? Like they go there, they live, but they're not allowed to kill there or anything like that. Maybe one of them kind of crosses that line, and it brings the attention of this community of serial killers to maybe the wrong people's attention, right? Or depending on your perspective. Anyway, I really liked it. It has this nice humorous approach to it. It's a really interesting concept, and the way it was played with were really cool. You got common tropes in here, like the clown serial killer. You got the bag-wearing, chainsaw-wielding, Leatherface type. You get all these different types of serial killers referencing, like, real people or movies, things like that, and it just worked so well. I thought it was really solid. It's kind of a light comic book week, so if you don't have a big stack and you're willing to take a chance on something, and that sounds like this could be up your alley, I would highly encourage you to check it out. I do love Kyle Starks and Peter Kowalski. I think they do a fantastic job, and Popov's coloring is just a treat as well. So Where Monsters Lie, number 1 from Dark Horse Comics. That's the pick of the week. Let's jump over to Marvel. Bloodline, Daughter of Blade. So we don't have a Blade book, but we have a Daughter of Blade book. I guess I'll take what I can get. So this is written by Danny Lore with artwork by Karen S. Darboe, Chris Peter on the coloring, Joe Sabino on the lettering, and you know, I wasn't really looking forward to this book because I just rather have a Blade proper book, but I'll be honest, I didn't really hate it. It seems to make some leaps in the story, in the narrative, where it feels like there should be a link between two sequences. It feels like it kind of sporadically jumps here and there, and it kind of shortcuts a little bit. That's the only thing that kind of unnerved me, but I did like getting to know this character, her world, her connection to Blade. Of course, she's the daughter of Blade, and her kind of learning about this world. But like I said, there were some clunky bits in the script that didn't quite make everything feel very connected or coherent, but I still thought it was a pretty decent first issue, and I'll definitely come back for the next one. Then we got Silver Surfer Ghostlight, issue number 1. The next great superhero saga starts right here. This does have the first appearance of a brand new character, as far as I'm aware. It's being said that he's got a connection to Norrin Radd, to Silver Surfer. This issue 1, though, is not a Silver Surfer book. It is straight up a story to introduce a new hero. And I think they knew that if they just put out a book called The Shining One or whatever they want to call this person, I feel like they know that it wouldn't sell as well. So they have a blank spot in their lineup right now without a Silver Surfer book. So there's not a lot of Silver Surfer at all in here, but by the end of it, Silver Surfer's involvement becomes clear, and it gets a little bit more intriguing. I liked the artwork. The artwork is by Valentin DeLandro. John Jennings is the writer. The writing is okay. It does kind of feel a bit stiff at times, but the art does kind of help carry it through, and it really did connect very well at the end. Then we got Dark Web Finale. Actually, before you get to that, you got to do Venom number 16. I did not like this comic. I have not been liking Venom already, and I'm really not liking the Venom Dark Web tie-ins. I'm only reading Venom still because I trust Ram V, and I know that we're building up into this Summer of Symbiotes thing, and maybe that's silly, but it's not something that I can quite feel capable of letting go yet, but definitely something I probably should. I did not like that issue of Venom. But then we got Dark Web Finale. So this is, I got a runny nose. So this one is okay. Dark Web kind of fizzled for me. It totally fizzled out. I was really digging it at first. I'm not down with the idea of Ben Reilly being such a villainous character. All Hallows Eve, she seems interesting enough. The Goblin Queen stuff, that was intriguing, and then that just kind of got written out really, really quickly and conveniently, and it didn't really feel the weight or the impact, and I feel like weight and impact is what is lost here in the finale of Dark Web. It's okay, I guess, but it kind of sets up a new status quo with Limbo and Limbo's relation to the Marvel Universe. So it's got some ramifications that you'll see, you know, flow out into other books. But for me, it just kind of fizzled out on the ending, and it didn't do anything intriguing to me with the character of Ben Reilly, and it left him in a worse place than where he was when we started. So Dark Web finale, at least it's over, right? Then we got Miles Morales Spider-Man issue number 3. Loved this issue. I think Cody Ziegler's been doing an absolutely fantastic job on this book with the character of Miles, but also building up other things around him. There's a new villain that's been introduced. We learn her backstory, and it could have come across as very tedious and exposition-y, but it doesn't. It actually comes across very fluid and very dynamic. And then the artwork, I mean, y'all know dynamic's one of my favorite words to describe artwork because I love dynamic, kinetically charged artwork with texture and grit. Anyway, look at these double-page spreads. This is like straight in that line of Todd McFarlane. Let's have some big splash pages. Let's make things work. Let's let the book have movement. Let's let it have motion. Let's let it have the sense of pop and flair with the coloring, and it's absolutely amazing. Federico Vincentini and Brian Valenza are the artists there, the illustrator and the colorist respectively. Absolutely loving Miles Morales Spider-Man. 3 issues in. It is not slowing down. It's only heating up. And I cannot be more excited. Scarlet Witch number 2. Big surprise for me this week. A big, giant surprise for me this week. I actually really liked Scarlet Witch number 2. I thought number 1 was alright. It was a decent enough setup. Basically, Scarlet Witch is running a magic shop now that has this mystical door. When somebody's out there in need, they have nowhere to turn to. They'll walk through a door and wind up there in the magic shop, and Scarlet Witch can help them. At the end of the last issue, Viv, right? The Vision's daughter from that Tom King run, right? From the Champions. She shows up through that door. There's already a lot of complexity with the relationship between Scarlet Witch and, of course, Vision's daughter. So that's being played up with, and it's actually a really heartfelt story with a core of an emotional root. By Steve Orlando. It's one of the best Marvel Steve Orlando books I've read. I thought this was really good, well thought out, well paced. It has a backup story. The backup story's okay. It's Scarlet Witch and Storm, which is actually... yeah, it's Scarlet Witch and Storm, and that was all right. But this main story with Viv, it is Viv, right? Is it Viv? Is it Viv? Why don't you say the names? Let's just say it's Vision's daughter. Anyway, Scarlet Witch number 2, I really liked it. So if you're on the fence with number 1, maybe you want to check out issue number 2. Then we got Moon Knight number 20. Got that Blade cover. There's a backup story in here by Danny Lore. It's a Blade proper story that takes place back in the 70s with a different avatar of Moon Knight. And I actually kind of liked that, and I thought that was cool. But the main story was freaking awesome. Now, you know that I have been all about Cappuccio on the artwork here, but this is some of his best work on this series yet. Holy cow, somebody's going around killing off all of Moon Knight's old allies from like back in the 90s run, right? So lots of references to that time, lots of references to that stuff, but lots of just great artwork, amazing coloring, gritty, textured, dynamic, kinetic, and maybe even a little bit of nuance. I don't know. I really, really like Moon Knight, and there was a time where it was dipping in quality for me. It has definitely risen back up. One of Marvel's best books. From DC, we have The Flash, 1 Minute War. It's a special. If you're reading The Flash, you definitely want to check this one out, especially if you liked what's been going on in 1 Minute War. Basically, it's this invading alien species who comes to Earth, and the way they divide, or the way they devour planets, we should say, the way they conquer these planets, is they move at super speed, and they can do it in 1 minute. Like, they show up, next thing you know, it's over. It's done. Unfortunately, they show up to Earth, and they have a Flash family, right? So that's what's being told in the pages of Flash right now, which has been a consistent book by Jeremy Adams. And this special gives us a little bit of backstory on the villains, who they are, why they can do what they do, and sets up other little character moments, including introducing some new characters. Yes, introducing some new characters as well. Excuse me, introducing some new characters as well, and having a sense of fun with it. So it doesn't, I wouldn't say that it's 100% essential, but if you're reading The Flash and liking it, no reason not to pick it up. It's a very light week for DC because to them it's a 5th week because they put their comics out on Tuesday, which is still January, and then the next day is February. It's just one of those things. DC Universe presents Lazarus Planet Legends Reborn. I really did like the Lazarus Planet from last week. Didn't like it from the week before. This one's kind of a mixed bag. It's got this really awesome Beast Boy and Raven story by Alex Packnadell. It's got a real... What's the first story that was really... Oh, it's got a question story. Renee Montoya question story that I really liked. The rest of it all just kind of fell flat for me. So Lazarus Planet doesn't feel like a big connected event, but it just feels like a moment that now we can do a bunch of little vignettes that kind of lead and tease into what's coming up in the DC Universe, including a new iteration of Firestorm, which is also in there, so it's alright. Then we got Batman Legends of Gotham. This is a one-shot, $5.99, not worth $6, but I thought it was a pretty decent enough tale. If you like the more recent Batman and the Outsiders work, like the Brian Hill stuff, I think you might want to check this one out. Red Hood sneaks into the Batcave trying to find one of his old motorcycles. Batman's out of town, but Katana and Black Lightning are there, and instead of throwing down with Jason, they decide to bring him along on a mission, and it's pretty decent. It's a decent enough one-and-done, self-contained Batman story that also sets up potential to come in the future. This is written by Andy Diggle, Carl Mostert on the artwork, so overall, I liked it, but it's not going to change your life. But if you're a DC Bathead, that's pretty much all you got. Then we got DC Power, which is a one-shot celebrating Black History Month. So you got a bunch of black creators, a bunch of black characters, and for the most part, I thought the book was really cool. There's a Jon Stewart story in there I really, really like. There's a Cyborg story in there by Morgan Hampton, who is the new writer of the ongoing Cyborg book, launching in like April or May or something like that. But what I really, really liked about it was this Amazing Man story from Evan Narcisse and Daryl Banks. Now, I am a huge Daryl Banks fan, have been since the Kyle Rayner Green Lantern days. And this was really cool. So this is a character that existed in the DC Golden Age that I didn't know about, so I thought that was the best part. But it's a nice, big, thick, meaty comic, $10, lots of story, lots of content, Far Sector's in there. Like I said, Jon Stewart, Vixen, I Am Batman, a John Ridley story, I Am Batman, with some great Oliver Coipel artwork in black and white. So I thought that was pretty cool. Let's jump over to Image. And from Image, we have Blood Tree #1, a brand new book from Peter J. Tomasi with artwork by Maxim Simic. John Calzez on the cover. I said that name all wrong. This book was just okay. So it's part of Mad Ghost, which is the imprint that Geiger and Red Shirt and right now Junkyard Joe live at, because it's kind of like Jeff Johns' imprint or something. This is not connected to that universe, though. As far as I'm aware, it's not connected to that universe. This is like a run-of-the-mill, typical, cliche, tropey detective story. Murders are happening, someone's kidnapping people, drugging them, sewing angel wings to them, and dropping them from, like, great heights and killing people with, like, I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting concept, and I think Peter J. Tomasi is a really good writer, but this just kind of felt very bland, boring, run-of-the-mill. None of the characters popped, and even the interesting enough concept didn't really seem to develop truly fully, so it kind of lost me, and I don't even know if I want to come back for an issue #2, so didn't really like that one. Then we got Almighty. This one is from LaRoche, which is Edward LaRoche. The art's pretty good in this book. I like it. The script was decent enough into the fact that, like, it had a good pace to it. It didn't feel like it was bogged down. It had a nice flow to it, but it didn't really do anything interesting, and once again, just kind of felt very typical. So they set up this whole big thing at the beginning about, like, America's walled itself off, and it's gone into, like, a third world nation type situation, and that sounds kind of similar to, like, some of the stuff and ideas that are being explored in Undiscovered Country, and that's fine or whatever, but they don't actually do anything with that concept. They do this whole big info thing in the beginning to let you know where we're at, and then you don't really do anything about it. Basically, somebody has been kidnapped, and a hunter has been sent after the kidnapped victim to save her. And it's what it is. It's violent, it's interesting, but it's nothing that we haven't seen before, so it didn't really stand out. Even on a lighter week, it still didn't really stand out for me. Then we got Flawed, issue #5 by Chuck Brown and Frenzy. Holy cow, am I loving this book. I think, especially now with issue number 5, I can say this book is awesome. Seriously, issue 5 was the best one yet. You get more backstory on one of the villains. You get really, really charged artwork that has a great sense of momentum to it. I enjoy the hell out of this book. And it's been a slow burn. I thought issue number 1 was cool. 2 and 3, they're alright. It's decent. It's doing some okay stuff. But here at the end of the first arc, it really just makes a bold statement as just being a great, fun, mysterious, sci-fi, superhero-y, horrific type story. There's a lot going on in this book, and I think Chuck Brown's doing a great job with it. Then we got King Spawn, issue number 19. This is a Christmas story. Obviously, we're past Christmas. I don't like it when the schedules don't work out, but sometimes it can't be helped. But this is a teaming up of Spawn and Salmon Twitch, and I don't know if that's happened in a long time, but it feels like it's time for it, and I am here for it. This was awesome. I really love Salmon Twitch. I really love Spawn. I really love when they interact, and like I've said before, King Spawn brings that vibe and flavor and flair of early Spawn. So even if you haven't read Spawn for the last 30 years, you could start reading King Spawn, and you're right into it. Artwork has some really, really top-notch moments. There's one in particular, and the artists are Thomas Nachilic and Von Randall. This is why we buy Spawn comics. To see shit like that. This is why we buy Spawn comics. $2.99 cardstock cover. Still one of the greatest deals out there. And next issue is going to have a nice cover by my homie Mark Spears. So, Mark, Station, that's awesome. Super excited for you. From IDW, we have Breath of Shadows. Issue number 1, the new collaboration between Rich Douek and Alex Cormack and Justin Birch. I liked it. It didn't hit as a first issue as hard as their previous collaborations like Road of Bones or Sea of Sorrows, but it has some interesting ideas. It's about this rock star. I believe it's the late 60s, maybe early 70s in this story. But it's about a rock star. He's addicted to heroin. He's trying to find that next thing. He hears about this magical thing found in the jungles of Mexico, this magic drug that's going to like get him higher than anything else and cure all of the addiction and that stuff. But what's really intriguing about this, because the story's cool and the characters are being well developed by Rich, but Alex's artwork is so amazing, and the way that this dude's complex about his addiction is visualized with these like really gnarly like centipede, millipede type things. Like, this is what we're here for. This is dark, this is gnarly, and this story promises a lot more gnarly darkness to come, and I'm all here for it. Breath of Shadows, issue number 1. From AWA, we have Black Tape, issue number 1 of 4, written by Dan Panosian with artwork by Dalibor Talajik. Love the artwork. This is the artist from Hotel with John Lee, so if you like his artwork there, you're going to like it here. The story, though, it's interesting, but it was kind of dull and boring for a first issue. It didn't really hook you in. What we get at the end here, which is a bit intriguing, is that, I'm not going to spoil it, but that's something that should have been revealed earlier because that's part of the hook of the story. So all I can really tell you is it's about this famous rock star who dies, and it's about his wife grieving, picking up the pieces, and maybe she starts discovering something about her dead husband that she did not know. And that leads us to Black Tape, issue number 1. It was okay. If issue 2 comes out on a light week, I'm here for it. Then we got issue number 4 of The Approach from Boom Studios. Really digging this one. Jeremy Hahn, I believe. Yeah, Jeremy Hahn, Jason A. Hurley, Jesus Hervos, and Leah Cabarello. Maybe. I really like this book. It's about an airport terminal. We're at a terminal, and in a big snowstorm, a plane lands. There's this giant monster in there, starts killing all these people. There's this gnarly old lady who strips down nude and just starts worshiping this damn thing. And now they're just trying to stop it and just blow it up. And it's changing and becoming something bigger and grosser. It's like nice, cool, gory creature feature, monster type stuff that I really dig. I would love this as a movie. And it's, as I'm reading this book, I'm like, man, is issue 4 the final issue? It's not, because the ending, the ending. Anyway, The Approach, issue number 4. That one just gets better and better. Just good old school horror. I like it. Tales from Nottingham, issue number 1 from Mad Cave Studios. I like the Nottingham series. I really am intrigued by this vision of Robin Hood and the Crusades and how it all ties together. This is Nottingham Tales. Each one is going to be a standalone story, probably by different artists. I'm not sure about that. But this first one, you know, it goes to Jerusalem and it deals with this this woman who's like a crusaders. I don't know, man. To be honest, I don't remember what was going on, but I will say that there are moments in here where I really, really like the artwork, but I do appreciate them kind of elaborating more on what's going on in Jerusalem or what's going on with the Crusades, and that's kind of cool. I guess she's not a crusader. Do you call all sides crusaders, or is it just the one? Anyway, Tales from Nottingham, #1. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. Category 0, Conflict, issue #2 from Adam Kamel. Adam Kamel. Really, really am liking this book. The problem is, if you haven't read the first Category 0, you may be a little bit lost, but I still really appreciate the flow. I think the flow has improved in this series as opposed to the first volume, which I did like in concept, but I did feel like it kind of stagnated at times. This one doesn't do that, and even though it's been so long since I've read the original Category 0, and I'm kind of disconnected from where the characters were or what's going on, I am vibing with this book and I'm going right along with it. So I think they're doing a great job here, and I would encourage you, if you like things that are like, so the basic idea is like there's this drug that goes around, or there's like this it's kind of like the resistance a little bit. Something hits the population, turns like 1% of them into superhumans, and this is about the regulation of those superhumans. This is a story we've seen before, but this gets to tell it with a little bit more earnesty and honesty. So, earnestness and honesty. Category 0, Conflict. I'm still liking it. Frank Miller presents Ancient Enemies, issue #2. I wasn't going to read this, but I knew that this introduced Frank Miller's new character, the Geek, including an original story written and illustrated by Frank Miller. First, let me talk about Ancient Enemies, which also utilizes the Geek character. Boring, it's dull, it's just not what I'm looking for. It's like some of the most obviously stagnant comics of like the 80s and the 90s. That's kind of what's going on here. If that's your vibe and you're liking it, I'm happy for you, but it's not really working for me. It's kind of like Kree-Skrull War with superheroes on Earth. It's kind of like been there, done that, right? Now, the Frank Miller story with the Geek, I really liked. It's not going to be for everybody, and I don't even know if I can show you a single page because it's got dongs. So I think there's dongs on every single page. Yep, that page. Okay, this page does not have dongs. Anyway, a lot of people don't like modern Frank Miller artwork. I still do. I liked this story a lot. Was that worth $5.99? No. I'll be honest, no. Anyway, then we got Frank Frazetta's Dawn Attack, issue #2. I'm liking this. So it's taking the idea of the Dawn Attack painting and just kind of tying a story to it. And a lot of the Frank Frazetta stuff's very fantasy-based, and we've seen a lot of that kind of stuff, like Death Dealer, which has a new issue out this week, which has a very, very spicy cover. Very spicy cover. I thought about getting one. But Dawn Attack, #2, I'm liking. I'm liking the story. It's a little bit more science fiction, which is not something we typically see based on Frank Frazetta's work. But it is going into this sci-fi fantasy type approach. It's building up other characters, setting it off. And I really do love the artwork in this book. The artwork captivates me. It's clean. It's got this almost like, it's kind of almost got this almost stagnant sense to it, but it's also just beautiful and well done. So I don't know, I'm liking Dawn Attack, and I thought issue #2 was pretty solid. From Dynamite, we have Purgatory Must Die, issue #2. Having fun with this book because it doesn't take itself too seriously whatsoever. Everybody's after Purgatory in this series, and when I say everybody, I mean every damn character Dynamite has, pretty much. Vampirella is there, Nyx is there, Chastity is there, Evil Ernie is there. They're all coming after her. We're learning things about her past. There's some interesting bits with her and this other character, and some really nice bits where they do, where is it? There's some really nice sequences. They're like action sequences and nice layouts. I gotta find this. Yeah, this stuff. I love the coloring on these pages and the way that we're seeing this dude use his magic. The way that that's shown and represented is really cool. So the Purgatory series is a book that they don't take themselves too seriously, and it makes me really want to go find some of that early Chaos Purgatory stuff. And then we also got this really cool facsimile #1 from Gargoyles. That's right, this is the original Disney Gargoyles #1 comic book, reprinted in a facsimile form. So I hope they do it with all of them. I hope they do it with all of them, because apparently I've never read this series, and there's a lot between the Gargoyle series and what's going on in the new Dynamite series. And it's from this series, so I need to read this. And I think we're at least getting graphic novels. I would love an issue-by-issue reprint. And that's what we got. And that's what I read, so let's just recap that. Gargoyles, facsimile #1, that's always cool. Purgatory doesn't take itself very seriously. I appreciate that. Dawn Attack has some great artwork and interesting concepts. Ancient Enemies didn't really work for me, but I did like that Frank Miller story. Category 0 Conflict is continuing to improve from the first volume. Tales from Nottingham was alright. Maybe fell a little bit flat, but some cool artwork. The Approach is just awesome. Cool monster fun. Black Tape needed to go a little bit further to hook me in. Probably pacing issues there for me. Breath of Shadows didn't hit as hard as Road of Bones #1. Didn't hit as hard as Sea of Sorrows #1. But there's a lot of grotesque darkness to come, and you can vibe with that. King's Spawn, that's the cover of the week. And hold on. Smell of the week as well. King Spawn gets cover of the week and smell of the week, and still a great comic, even though it's a Christmas story. Flawed, this is the best issue of Flawed yet. Both of these let me down. Almighty and Blood Tree #1. Didn't really like them. DC Power's a nice celebration of DC black characters and creators. Batman Legends of Gotham, it's a decent enough story, but only if you just have nothing else to buy. DC Universe Lazarus Planet, it's a mixed bag on that one. Flash 1 Minute War, if you're liking the Flash, you might as well pick this one up. You're gonna like it. Moon Knight continues to shine. Scarlet Witch #2 was very surprising. Miles Morales Spider-Man #3 was awesome. Marvel's got some good books. Dark Web finale, hey, it's over. Let's just be happy about that, right? Venom, Dark Web tie-in, hey, it's over. Venom's not over. Why am I reading that book? Silver Surfer Ghostlight, not really very Silver Surfer heavy, but it still has some interesting concepts and a really cool ending there. Bloodline, Daughter of Blade. I liked it, but the pick of the week is Where Monsters Lie. Just a cool concept. What if all these monster serial killers lived in one area, but you don't shit where you eat? What happens when one of them does? Speaking of shit where you eat, I got some of those crunchy cookie M&Ms. Now, I haven't tried these. I would typically do this on Rockin' Robbie Live, but I wanted to save it here because I keep seeing these ads, and now I don't see any ads for these M&Ms. But I want to try them, and I'm going to try them in front of you. People have said they're good. I saw them at the store the other day. So these are the crunchy cookie M&Ms. Should I just eat one at first? First of all, kind of tiny. They're kind of tiny for M&Ms. Just try one. Okay. They're not bad. They're pretty good. Yeah, they taste like cookies inside of M&M's. Candy-coated cookie bites. At first, I was getting a cookie dough bite thing. I don't like cookie dough bites. So it's not that. It's like little cookie balls covered in M&M candy coating. Yeah, it's not bad. I probably bought too big of a bag. Anybody want some? I'll send you some. Anyway. Yeah, that's what I read. That's what I thought. That's what I'm digging. What are you reading? What are you digging? Let us know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And join us over at patreon.com/PCP if you want to help support the channel. I've been Rockin' Robbie Billups. These have been M&M's. This has been the weekly comic book review. On behalf of everybody here at Pop Culture Philosophers, thanks for rocking with us. Keep on reading. Station. Pop, pop. And those are pretty good, man. Good. Boom!